Hey everyone, welcome to our new live video podcast, which we've affectionately named Hopeful Humpday. That's right, we brought in a camel. His name's Humphrey, thanks to one of our wonderful friends. She gave him that name. So you may be wondering what in the world a camel has to do with hope. I get that. But if you know anything about camels, you know that their hump is actually a reservoir of energy when they have to go on a long journey or a long distance. Sometimes getting through a week can feel like a long journey, and we may need an extra dose of hope just to get us over that midweek hump and through the rest of the week. So that's what we're going to be aiming to do with our podcast. So something we've found to be helpful for us at Hope Warrior Project is hearing stories of the challenges that people have been through and what helped them get through it, whether it's tools or mindsets that help them overcome the challenges that they went through. So we want to be able to share more of that with you. So we'll be interviewing real people just like you and us every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. here on Facebook. So go ahead and mark your calendars now so you don't miss it. If you do miss it, obviously you can watch the replay, but we're really excited to start this and we hope you will join us on the journey. So let's get into it. Lydia, over to you to introduce our first guest.
Thank you, Stephanie. So I'm super excited to introduce our guest. Hold on, let me just make sure that they can see me. Okay, there we go. And because she is somebody that is really passionate about something that I'm really passionate about, and that is yoga. And we recently started offering Hope Warrior Yoga via Zoom to anybody and everyone. So on Sundays at 11 a.m. And so we thought it would be so awesome to have this little interview so that she can share with our community how yoga can help and just how it works and how it helps with anxiety and all these other things that we might be dealing with what's going on in the world. And I especially wanted to bring Andrea because she is actually specializes in trauma-sensitive yoga, which I will definitely let her tell you what that's all about. But welcome, Andrea. Oh, there you are. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Hey. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I wanted to start out by just sharing a little experience that I had actually with Andrea's class. So I do a lot of yoga, right? I'm a yoga teacher, but I was taught through Jibs, through Lifetime specifically, and I teach at Export. So it's a little bit different. And so when I went to take Andrea's class, when she had just finished her trauma-sensitive training, it was different, and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't expecting to have the experience that I did. And when I came out of the class, I was just kind of overcome with emotion, and I was bawling. And it was just this experience. And I don't want to scare you guys, like you're thinking, well, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want to be crying after yoga. But I just want to assure you that it was a positive release. It felt good, and it really allowed me to kind of deal with some things that maybe I was pushing down and suppressing, because I tend to try to focus on the positive and sometimes maybe a little bit too much and not deal with things that I should be dealing with. So I just thought that was so incredible, just taking your class once, that I was able to have just a different type of yoga experience, even though I was used to yoga. So I definitely want to hear from you kind of why it's different and why that happened to me. But first start out with just letting us know kind of how you got into yoga and also the trauma side of it, like why you were attracted to that side.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me on, ladies. Again, my name's Andrea, and I am a master level Holy Yoga instructor. Master level just means I have a lot of training, over 500 hours, along with a certification in trauma-sensitive yoga, Holy Yoga. So I started and run a small business, New Life Yoga, which specializes in teaching trauma-sensitive yoga. So how I got into it is really my son Joshua. So my husband and I have 3 boys, and our middle son is adopted, and he's 9 now, but when he was 3 is when he came into our family. And he experienced a lot of hard experiences, a lot of trauma before he came into our family and being adopted. You know, that also has its hard aspects, the bonding, the building of trust and different things. And so adopting him and having him in our family really gave me this front row seat to what trauma is. Parenting a child with trauma is no easy task, and it's really hard, and it helps you learn a lot about what trauma does and how it affects a person's body, a person's behavior. And I started actually practicing yoga after adopting our son, and it really helped me personally deal with my own like anxiety, overwhelming triggers of emotion, even my chronic pain. And so it helped me self-care as a parent of a child with trauma. But then I got passionate about wanting to bring this to my child and to my family, and about helping kids and families connect and heal through this practice of trauma-sensitive yoga. So then I went and did the training, and have been, working with my not just my adopted son, but all my children. And I have a specific tender heart for parents like me that have, children with trauma and families of trauma. So, but it's such a powerful and effective tool, and it's really a gift to anyone that chooses to engage and practice in. So I wanted to share this and just how healing has been for me.
Well, that's awesome to hear. And I think that's one of the great things about having you on our podcast, is that you've had the personal experience of it and how you've seen it help you as well as your family. So I want to go back to Lydia's experience. Can you what happened to her? Why did she have that reaction?
And then, Lydia, right? You're not the only one. You're not the only one that's come to me and been like, whoa, I didn't know that was in there. And, it doesn't always have to look like emotion. I love that you said that. Don't let it scare you, because sometimes it does look like a release of emotion, because that's what our bodies need to do. They need to release that emotion we've been holding on to, but it can look different for everyone. So really, when we go through stressors in life, or traumas, big traumas, I call them big T traumas or little T traumas, because it's all kind of traumatic for our body. It all triggers that stress response in our body. So whether it's an event or a season of life, kind of like what we're in right now, we're in a traumatic season of life, really. So many of us that are experiencing such an intense stress. So whether it's big or little, our brain and our bodies really respond to this stress. A disconnection happens, and our brain really stops kind of working the way it's supposed to from like a logical standpoint. It stops filing away the memories and, using all parts of our brain, thinking clearly. And so these hard experiences just kind of get stored and stuck in our body in an unconscious level. And so these hard experiences we go through become memories that our bodies remember. They're called body memories. And so when we have these body memories, some of the things that can happen are like physical issues, kind of like my chronic pain, anxiety, depression, PTSD. Like there's just so many things that people can experience because these body memories. And so really, there's this unconscious memory that our bodies hold because of what we've gone through. And so when we take the time to do a trauma-sensitive yoga class, and we take the time to slow down, pay attention, get mindful, connect with our breath, connect with our body, notice the sensations that we're feeling in our body, noticing our thoughts, noticing and starting to listen to what we feel in our body in a non-judgmental way, and start meeting our body's needs, this reconnection happens. And so this reconnection can really look like a lot of things. It can look like a release of emotion. It can look like a clarity of mind. It can look like you feel lighter, you can breathe easier, you have a sense of calm inside. So that's what happened. That's what happened to Lydia.
So we know her response. We got you, Lydia.
So can you unpack a little bit more about, because you mentioned body memory, like what exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, so body memories are the way that the body physiologically records an experience we go through. So body memories actually can be positive, or some of them can be negative. So we experience the world through our five senses: our smell, our taste, our hearing, our touch, and our sight. I almost forgot the sight, our sight. So when we experience the world in our five senses, and we remember what we've gone through in our five senses. So a positive body memory would be, with candy corns. People have a love-hate relationship with candy corns in the October, right? Well, whenever I see candy corns, I have like memories of my grandmother that died when I was younger. I don't feel sad, but I have like I feel heartwarm. Like I just have this like, oh, I love that. Like it just reminds me of my grandma. Then I start eating them and I'm like, oh, I don't love them. So that would be just like a small example of a body memory that is not from a traumatic experience, but I remember seeing, and when I was younger, I loved the taste of them, but it triggers a memory. It triggers, and I can even feel like in my heart space, a warmness, right? Now, someone that experiences maybe something negative. So another example, say a car accident. Okay, so say someone's driving the car, it's a nice day, the window's down. They hear birds chirping, they're just enjoying the sun, and then all of a sudden someone rear ends them. And at that time, they hear a big crash, they hear someone scream, and they smell gasoline. So, the sight, the sound, the hearing, all of these things. So what happens is the emotional brain takes over. I mean, our brains were designed to protect us in these like hard things. And so this fight, flight, freeze takes over. This emotional brain takes over. The logical brain no longer exists. But the emotional brain takes over. And, these things that we experienced, all of the feelings, maybe the anxiety, the fear, it doesn't get filed away in the brain because the logical brain isn't working. It's the emotional brain that's working. And so then those feelings, they just get locked and stuck in our body. So then say a year later, you're kind of driving, it's a nice day, you're enjoying the sunshine, and maybe that's enough. That triggers that sense of fear, that sense of anxiety. Like, oh my gosh, looking around, is someone going to rear end me? Or maybe it's the bird chirping, or maybe you're fueling your car and you smell gasoline, and then all of those like feelings of fear, of anxiety, you just start getting triggered and overwhelmed with those emotions. So we experience the world through our five senses, but we can get triggered in our body memories with our senses, because that's how we experience the world. So someone that's been through a lot of really hard things, whether it's just a huge thing or a lot of little things or a lot of mix of things, they can be triggered in their fight, flight, freeze all the time by various things. So they're constantly being triggered. So they're constantly in that emotional brain, and they constantly live in a state of stress. They don't feel safe. So that's body memory.
I mean, as you're describing that, I mean, I can think of, the candy corn example, right? My mind might not be candy corn, but a smell of a cologne or something. I think we probably all had those experiences. So that makes total sense. I like how you talked about the big T and the little t. So I mean, I think the word trauma in itself, we think big T, right? The bad, really big bad stuff. But it sounds like
I don't have trauma.
No.
I don't have trauma. Yeah, no, that's what a lot of people think. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
but we have at least the little T's. So so this trauma sensitive yoga can be helpful for the big T, the big traumas, or the smaller T's. So I mean, stress, anxiety, depression. So I mean, it's kind of good for that whole spectrum.
Yeah, yep. It's not just someone that has PTSD, has, you know, like the big traumatic things. And you know, we're all different and unique. So I might experience the car accident, you might experience the same car accident. We could be in this car together, but I walk away and I don't have any body memories. Or you walk away and you have all the body memories. So we all respond to different things differently as well. So it's really for anyone. It can really help with feelings of feeling stuck, feeling overwhelmed, emotionally flooded, stress, anxiety, depression. Even people that have like chronic physical issues and struggles can really benefit from this practice. So
yeah, that's awesome. Can you talk just a little bit quickly about how yoga helps with those body memories and like reconfiguring them?
So, you know, healing is all about feeling safe, right? It's this healing from trauma is about you start healing when you feel safe. So there's really 3 parts to trauma sensitive yoga. It's the breathing, the mindfulness, and there's the movement. So individually, they're all very helpful, but you bring them together. It's a super powerful practice in reconnecting with healing. So the 2 ones that I would love to highlight here, and I know for the sake of time, I need to be quicker, but for people that maybe want to start applying some of these things right away, is the breath and the mindfulness. I think for someone that's interested in learning how to heal through this practice, breathing, it's a super powerful reminder that the only thing required is your breath. And for someone that's overwhelmed and anxious, you know, that's the only thing that's required of you. It's your breathing, it's your breath. And doing just 2 minutes of intentional breathing really stimulates the nervous system physiologically and helps bring calm and relaxation to the body. And you find relief from that stress response, that fight, flight, freeze. And so that's when you start feeling safe and when the healing can begin. So just intentional breathing for even just a minimum of 2 minutes can really bring a lot of relief, and is really helpful. Mindfulness is super powerful because mindfulness is noticing the moment you're in without judgment. Because so often we notice things about our body or our experience, but we go to judgment. We go to, oh, I don't like that. And we resist and we try and fight it, or there's guilt or there's shame. And so kind of a practice of mindfulness really can help build self-awareness, self-reflection skills. And it's really about getting curious about what you're experiencing in the moment versus fearing what you're experiencing. So mindfulness is huge because if you approach your feeling and sensations and the things that you're experiencing with fear, then you're just in your cycle, your trauma cycle, your emotional trigger cycle, your body memory cycle. But if you can get mindful, if you can learn to pay attention with your 5 senses in what you experience and get curious, then you can just build awareness. And I love that quote from Maya Angelou: do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. And then the movement piece, the body piece, you know, that breath body connection, it physiologically connects your brain and your body, 2 sides of your brain together. And just that reconnection brings a lot of healing too. I could go on for hours on this topic.
This is so interesting. I think we may have to bring you back for a second installment. In fact, I just saw we had a question that came in. How can we teach this to a 13-year-old who's had some past trauma? So I think let's cover that in a next
Another
episode
one.
if you're willing to come back and visit us, because I think
Oh,
that,
I'd love to.
yeah,
I'd love
I think
to.
people would love to hear more about that.
Yeah.
Well, so if people want to know more about this or what you offer at your program with New Life Yoga, how could they connect with you or find out more? Where would they go to find out more?
Yeah, so I have a website, newlife.yoga is my website. And really a lot of the information is on there too. I have a Facebook page that I have a lot of stuff on there. So if you New Life Yoga on Facebook. So I have an on-demand online studio. I do Zoom private sessions, small group sessions, do free consultations. But if anyone that's interested, they can just head on over to my website and get more info.
Yeah, and we'll definitely share that link in the comments. But lastly, just to close it up, you know, Stephanie and I, every day we post a daily insight and mindfulness question. And I'm so happy to take the day off today because let me tell you, it's not easy thinking of a new one every single day. So we were like, how wonderful would it be to have somebody else do it once a week? So you get control over Hope Warrior Project today. So what is the insight and mindfulness question for today?
Yeah, well, and I work with a lot of private session clients that have a lot of trauma, like pretty severe trauma. And it's just such a reminder. So my question comes from this is just, your body remembers everything, whether you know it or not. So the quote is, your body remembers, it holds your story. Listening to your body is a pathway to healing. And just so time and time again with my private session clients that I work on, it's, okay, let's listening to our body, noticing what we're feeling. And then we follow that sensation. We follow that pain, or we follow that need that's arising. And then eventually there's, you know, the healing happens. So it's pretty powerful and amazing. So, and then the mindfulness. Yes. Did I read the mindfulness?
Yes.
The question.
Okay. So the mindfulness is, what's one thing you notice about your body, like just in your five senses, and how can you care for that part of your body today? How can you honor it? How can you care for it?
I like it. That's a very simple thing, but it probably has really powerful results if we just give our bodies some attention and some love, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what this practice is.
Thank you so, yes. Thank you so much for joining us, Andrea, and particularly for being our very first guest. It was fantastic to hear more about trauma-sensitive yoga. Again, I think this is probably something maybe not a lot of people maybe know about. So for our listeners, hopefully this was really helpful for you to gain more knowledge about this area of yoga that maybe you hadn't thought of before. So if you'd like to explore this further, like Andrea said, you know, check out her website or her Facebook page, which we will go ahead and link in the comments below. Maybe consider setting up a free consult with her if it's something you think you really want to maybe start using. I mean, this is a tool that can help us in our lives. So when we can use something like that, we should definitely. So join us again next week, same time, same place, Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. for our next episode of Hopeful Humpday. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks, Andrea.
Welcome.